All right, where we left off on the last lecture was talking about primates being social species. And although your book goes over this, again, I'm going to repeat some of what you have read. So let's talk about living in groups. Why do it? Well, there's a few things that happens when we live in groups that increase our fitness. One is better access to mates. So living in groups allows for a greater variety and access to mates where living outside or solitary may be a little bit more difficult to come by. Now, although a competition may exist within the group, it still is a better situation. The reason is better access to food. So large groups have a greater potential for finding food. And again, there may be some competition within the group, but overall, chances of finding food increase with larger groups. Also avoiding predators. Predators such as birds of prey or raptors, big cats, large snakes, and so forth can be avoided because a group has more eyes looking out for predators, and if one member of the group spots a predator, they can put a call out where the rest of the group can avoid that predator. Also, exploitation of new areas, and again, access to better resources. All right, so let's really quickly go over types of social groups that we find in primates. We have solitary, monogamy, polygyny, one-male polygyny, multi-male polygyny, fission-fusion polygyny, and polyandry. So let's look at solitary. Solitary is more common in early primates, and in solitary primates we see more ancestral traits such as better senses of smell, as well as very acute hearing. And males often occupy territories that overlap with female territories, and they compete for access to females using scent markers or using different calls. Monogamy is when a male and a female live in a pair bond for an extended period of time. Now, when we see in monogamy is we see very little competition for access to mates. And here we're going to talk about a relationship between very little competition. When we see that, we also see very little sexual dimorphism or differences between the male and the female. So there is in primates that are monogamous where there's low degree of sexual competition, the males and females also do not look that different from each other. All right, let's look at polygyny. This is when one or more males and more than one female. So, in polygynous primate societies, we usually see more complex social interactions. So let's look at different types of polygyny we find in primates. One is called one male polygyny, where one male can lives and tries to monopolize as many females as he possibly can, and competes very much with other males trying to do the same thing. Now, in these groups, because we do see a high degree of competition for access to mates, we also see a high degree of sexual dimorphism, such as the case in the silverback gorilla. At this point, again, from your reading, we also see infanticide, where one male may actually kill off nursing babies in order to have the females start ovulating again and be able to establish dominance. All right, multi-male polygyny. This is where males compete for primary access to females instead of sole access. And in multi-male polygyny, we see this dominance hierarchy, this ranking of individuals, where you see some individuals at the higher end of the hierarchy having priority access, and some individuals at the lower end of this hierarchy. And ranking is based on ability to displace, intimidate, or even defeat males. Here, we also see a high degree of competition, therefore a high degree of sexual dimorphism. Fission-fusion polygyny. This is where there are no well-defined groups. However, there are well-defined geographical regions where members of one group may move to or immigrate into one group for a short period of time and then move back. Here, in fission-fusion polygyny, again, we see this hierarchy of competition of access to females or males, and we see a high degree of sexual dimorphism. We also see in fission-fusion polygyny, males and females form bonds with members of the same sex, forming bachelor groups, and attempt to displace or work together to move up and down in this hierarchy. Fission-fusion polygyny, as well as multi-male polygyny, usually has complex social interactions, almost in the terms of politics. And the last one I want to talk to you about is called polyandry. Polyandry is when one female has reproduces with as many males as she can control or monopolize. Now, this is an extremely rare form of social interaction in non-human primates. All right, this concludes our summary of primate social groups. Next lecture, we're going to look at some anatomical features and the orders, suborders, and families of primates.